Welcome, race fans, back to SVR. This is the S2 race, round 6 of the championship, marking, once we're done at least, the halfway point in our championship so far. My name's Webbo, by the way, if you're not used to us here, and this is how things are standing so far in the championship. We have Yank the Tank on top with 62 points, with 1 win to his name, ahead of similarly 1 winning Thump on 58. Joe Gone Sim is joint third, with Scavvy numerically at least on 54. Jailhouse Chris joins them and has 2 wins, bookending the first 5 rounds of the championship here. Jailhouse Chris returning to winning ways in round 5 at Catalonia. We have Hobbit in 6th, Nigel Mansnell in 7th, Senor Dude in 8th, Sir Grinch, our only other winner, in P9, with Nintendo, John Pauly, Liquid Gecko, and Biggerwood, with Ron Giles, newcomer, in the last position currently in P14. We have, in terms of the teams championship, this is how things look. PSV Racing have 108 points, ahead of Bro Carga's 102. Mega Racing have 98, Igala 88, with Hector Motorsports on 76. Team Sana in 6th place, Gecko Racing on 7th. And this then is the main grid for our race. We have Snacks in P14, I think reserve driving here for Team Cyan. Just get this right, then we have, and he's going to start the 30-lap race on the medium tyres. Michel Keefe will start on the softs on the back row in P13. Looking for a good, strong finish today, Michel Keefe, I'm sure, for his PSV Racing team. Check out PSV Racing on YouTube, by the way. Biggerwood joins his teammate on the dirty side of the track, but getting the sort of the worst start position then on the inside of his row 6. Alongside him will be Nintendo for Igala Motorsports. Both drivers on the medium tyres. Likewise, John P will start on the mediums with soft tyres for Thump. So PSV Racing clearly deciding that the softs are the way to start this race. We'll see what Thump and Michel Keefe can do here. But an unusually low qualifying position here back on row 5 for Thump. Liquid Gecko in 8th, also on the soft tyres, with Scavvy in P7. Jailhouse Chris starts in 6th place, with Yank the Tank starting on the soft tyres, making a bold decision early on, and he'll be looking to try and get right in the mix at the front of the grid here and get a second championship win. Of course, Woe Grizzle is on the soft tyres too in P4. So is Joe Gone Sim in 3rd. We have Sir Grinch on the softs in 2nd, and Nigel Mansnell in the 81 starting on the soft tyres likewise. A clear split then between our drivers as to who wants to start fast and aggressive, and potentially then obviously have to use the pit stop very early. 30 laps of wait then in very cloudy and overcast conditions, but I think we are forecast to have a dry race, at least in terms of track surface is concerned. So let's get ourselves underway for the race. I hope you're ready for this one. Mouth-watering prospect as 14 drivers take on the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit here. Lights are ready for the next round of our championship, round 6 of the 2026 VR Sim Racing World Championship. And it's dropped the clutch, and it's go, go, go. The soft tyres squeaking and starting very nicely for many of our drivers. Joe Gone Sim, though, slow away from the grid, and he's ping-ponging left and right, back and forth between lots of everybody trying to vie for that turn 1. He's trying to claim the inside line, but we look like we had a little bit of contact there as well, as John P in 12th, Joe Gone Sim down to 14th position. Let's have another look at Joe's trip round here as he tries to get back on terms. Makes contact, and then he's spun completely around by the Mega Racing driver, unfortunately for Joe, down to 14th and last position. But Sir Grinch took the lead of the race on the way through turn 1, as it all got very busy further back. So Sir Grinch in P1 ahead of Nigel Mansnell. That's the advantage of having the dirty side, but inside line into the famous hairpin here at the Ravenel turn 1. And it's Sir Grinch ahead of Mansnell with Woe Grizzle and Yank the Tank in P4 with Thump in 5th place. All the soft tyres away very, very nicely. We've got Scavvy in 5th, Jailhouse Chris in 7th position. Sorry, Scavvy in 6th, Jailhouse Chris in 7th, Nintendo ahead of Biggerwood, Keith, Snacks, Liquid Gecko and John P. A torrid and terrible start for the Hector Motorsports crew. A fast change of strategy needed at the back there, especially for the soft tyres starting Joe Gon Sim. Sir Grinch leads us away then as we head through the Michael Schumacher S and head towards our Xiaomi turn number 11. Turn number 10, excuse me, before then turning right into Bilstein Corner. And it's a long run with Woe Grizzle. A very good start here for the Mega Racing driver. Woe Grizzle, one of our most seasoned runners here in SVR, one of the OGs, and we're looking forward to seeing what he can do, of course, for the rest of this one. Woe Grizzle back in the SF23. It's been a while. It's great to see him right back at it. Yank the Tank in P4. With a championship lead to defend, but only by 4 points that lead over Thump. Nigel Mansnell looking for a good finish today as well. As we head through and down into that famous hairpin at the bottom of the hill. Jailhouse Chris ahead of Scavvy. Good overtake for Jailhouse Chris then on those medium tyres. Scavvy likewise as the drivers filter through. More promising start from Biggerwood, wearing the Union flag on his rear wing there. It's a new detail I've just, or at least I've just noticed it on the rear wing for him as Joe Gon Sim. No damage on the car. That will be the one relief he has. Here is your race leader in the Grinch helmet. It couldn't be anybody other than Sir Grinch. And we have Nigel Mansnell then in second with Woe Grizzle in P3. Grinch getting away here. These early few corners are into the deep part of lap 2 already. The left-hander of turn 6. Through the Schumacher S once again and into Xiaomi. Used to be Kumho curver here in preparation for a very, very important turn. The Bilstein used to be the bit curver and Warsteiner corner. As we head through then the long run uphill towards the Vidal chicane, the Intimidator. Is Thump's self-declared nickname on the back wing, and running through over the Vidal. Unfortunately, Nigel Mansnell, it's always the problem if you go a little bit deep on the brakes, and that will hurt the tyre wear as well. The biggest pain though will be watching Sir Grinch's Gecko racing carts slowly but surely step away as they head round the final corner then, which used to be Coca-Cola, is now Hyundai corner. We saw a driver in S1 tag the pit wall there. I'm always frightened of it when I'm driving this track myself. Scavvy in 9th, Gecko in 10th, in his own team colours, of course, here. And we've got Biggerwood ahead of Snacks and the two Hector Motorsports cars. Joe Gon Sim has not gone into the pits early doors here, but maybe thinking about a big undercut. Purple sector on lap 3 for Sir Grinch then, who continues to race hard. He's using his boost just to try and stretch his legs here, stop the slipstream. It's not super powerful here at Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit, the slipstream, just due to the fact that it's so tight and twisty, and so much of the lap is spent turning the front wheels and trying to navigate those corners, so there's not much opportunity to get a big overlap. The best chance you have in normal conditions is to pressurize the runners in front of you. Exactly here what Liquid Gecko is doing to another one of our OG, Scavvy, as we have a big mix of nationalities. Of course, this is the Sim Racing VR World Championship, and we have Liquid Gecko running very well at the moment in shadowing the Brokaga of Scavvy, keeping his eye, of course, on Nintendo in P8 as well. Holding off on using too much boost at this stage. One wheel up on the raised curb through Vidal. That was a nice run. He would have been much quicker than that had there not been a Brokaga stumbling through the chicane just ahead of him. As we power on then, are we tempted to use the boost at all? Still not from Liquid Gecko. There's that brand new Team Gecko livery as we head down in towards the all-important hairpin. The chief overtaking opportunity here for the drivers. John Pierce cleared Snacks, who has obviously had an issue. Jogon Sim has pitted early then for his possibly only one pit stop. It might be that he decides to go for the hard tyres at this early stage of proceedings. We've got Woe Grizzle still in P3 ahead of former race winner from Fuji, Yank the Tank. Thump has won and podiumed twice further, and he's in P5 right now as Woe Grizzle. It's his turn to get a fastest sector through the halfway point of the circuit. It's a 4-sector racetrack here at Nürburgring Grand Prix. Licks of flames as we're off throttle running through. Yank just kicking up the dirt slightly. Thump getting gaps here by the top 4 at this stage. You wouldn't expect that on the soft tyres from Thump. But where is Sir Grinch? He's heading into the Vidal chicane right now. And once again, Nigel Mansnail just struggling away here through the Vidal slightly. Very, very threatening cloud base there. Another fastest sector, at least for Sir Grinch, but Mansnail has the fastest lap so far, a 1:39.914. And that was the most recent lap. So Grinch held it for barely a second as Mansnail came through and took it away. Bit of a close action as we head down into the hairpin here. Scavvy, Nintendo. That is Nintendo for Igala Motorsports. Behind Scavvy, good overtake from Scavvy that time. He's now, Nintendo got to fight off Liquid Gecko. Outside to inside through turn 2. And then through the Mercedes AMG Arena section. You can go very wide out there, but I believe race director's instructions were that you cannot overtake off circuit. So you must make sure you've kept 2 wheels on the track through turn 4 or 5, just in case you get pinged by track limits from post-race investigations. Liquid Gecko in P9 then, making his way by Nintendo. And it's Scavvy in 8th, Liquid Gecko in 9th, Nintendo and Biggerwood in very close succession right now. So we've got Biggerwood in his Cyan race team colours. There's the new Union flag on the back wing for Biggerwood. Keeping those 2 wheels on, but it's a big problem there for Nintendo. Unfortunately, Nintendo goes for a trip as he goes through turn number 10. That is the Xiaomi curve, and it's just climbing the curb, and the kind of accident we have seen every year so far here at the VR Sim Racing World Championship by SVR. This Nürburgring circuit with the super tall curbs, not best suited to these very low, high downforce SF23 cars, of course, as they head down into the hairpin. The leaders, it's Grinch, Nigel Mansnail and Woe Grizzle on the start of lap 6 as they build and start to slowly crawl away from Yank the Tank in P4. We'll see what the drivers' relative pace is like on the next set of tyres after the pit stop. But for now, at least, it becomes a 3-horse race as Woe Grizzle slowly starts to move away here from Yank the Tank, who has actually used a lot of his boost, half of the boost used by Yank the Tank, the most of any in the top 4 at this stage, and that is a big surprise to me. Right at the back, as you would expect there, Jogon Sim, he may get a place back as Nintendo is having to repair the damage on his Igala Motorsports new silver livery, silver-based livery. Getting rid of, frankly, what I thought to be beautiful white. They've gone silver while we've got a very grey and cloudy forecast. Fair enough in the night conditions, but for me, the white stands out best on these daytime races. And you can see the level of moisture in the air, the humidity with the fog as we head uphill towards the Vidal chicane here, and we see how difficult it is to identify our cars. Thump in 5th, Jailhouse Chris in 6th, followed by Michel Keith. What a start for PSV Racing from the back 2 rows of the grid to now be 5th and 7th with those soft tyres on only lap 6. It has worked out beautifully despite a poor, by their standards, qualifying session. Liquid Gecko is in 8th, having drifted away slowly but surely from long-time rival Scavy. Biggerwood is now on the ascendancy and reining in Scavy. Here we have him. 2 good friends of mine, and I hope that they get the very best result possible. I know Biggerwood has been feeling like he's not been able to quite get the performances that his speed normally would lead him to expect. But this is the deal with our championship, the way that form both finds and then departs from our drivers. It's all about minimizing the bad days, it seems, because the level is so high and so competitive, and these SF23s are very, very tetchy machines to deliver a solid long-term stint of racing across the course of a long race such as this, and of course even longer in the S1 division that all of these drivers would love to be part of. Snacks Verstappen in P12 ahead of Nintendo with this fully repaired Igala Motorsports car. Possibly had to pull the pin slightly early from his plan, but it wasn't too deep into the race. We'll see when our soft runners elect to pit, but I wonder now, looking at how lightly certainly Sir Grinch has used his softs, whether in fact Nintendo will end up with a 2-stop strategy being the way to go. The gaps opening as they typically do here in our Nürburgring Grand Prix. As Thump in P5. Not much going on for Thump right now. He's picked up a couple new sponsors, I see. Certainly will be strolling down the pits in a new pair of jeans, I'm sure. And we have Jailhouse Chris then in 6th position. Another one of our former winners. Twice, the only 2-time winner so far. But at the moment, certainly looks like the potential win is a little distant away. Personal best as the medium tyres really getting into the happy spot right now for Jailhouse Chris. They'll be slightly less happy when he covers half of them in dirt in that manner, but he's matching the available grip to his ambition, and there we have it once again. Just giving everyone else a chance here at this stage. But the lead medium runner, the 266, Jailhouse Chris, this could be very important later on. You'll be forgiven for thinking this is purely an English-speaking, an ex-English Empire or Commonwealth grid. The Canadians, Americans, and United Kingdom drivers predominating the S2 division here. I promise you, it is a world championship. We have John P in 11th, Snacks in 12th with Nintendo, and Joe gone sim. Joe, having switched onto the mediums a little bit earlier, they'll be up to a better temperature, perhaps, than Nintendo's. We're right on board with Joe here. The reminder, rather than if you no longer go for a gap, which I feel has got a lot to answer for in sim racing circles, but first you have to finish. A reminder there, very sensible over long distance races, that all is not lost at the from a poor or a disadvantaged start here. There you see the effect of, unfortunately, a little bit of understeer thanks to the dirty air. We're in striking distance heading into the Vidal, and a very aggressive first part of the Vidal chicane from Joe Gonsim. Perfectly fine to mount the curb on the outside there, try to widen this corner as much as possible, get down on the power. Now we're using the boost. We lost a little bit of momentum. The final sector there to Nintendo ahead. Still the fastest lap of the race lies with Nigel in P2, despite the fact that they are heavy with fuel right now. Joe Gonsim, no refueling. for our Formula drivers this season. Climbing all over the curb, Joe is pushing the very limits of what his car will allow him to get away with. But at the back of the grid, at least keeping things entertaining for the drivers. Plenty to focus on here as they continue then. Nintendo ahead of Joe Gonsim are drivers who have pitted. The problem for Joe particularly is that he ended up pitting earliest, and now he can't really perform a big undercut because he's busy focusing on passing Nintendo. Sir Grinch has no such worries at this stage. Mr. O'Keefe, Liquid Gecko are in the pits off their soft tyres. Expect to see our drivers in. It's about the 1/3 distance of our race at the end of this lap, and that's a happy place to switch from softs to mediums. Typically mediums lasting around twice as long as a set of softs for everybody. So lap 10 of 30, Woke Grizzle in a good position. But blink and you miss it here, because the Nürburgring has a nasty habit, both the Grand Prix and the Nordschleife circuits, of spitting drivers out into the barriers or the scenery at not even a moment's notice. Jailhouse Chris over the curb. He's got Thump very much in his sights at this stage. And further back we have a pair of drivers fighting together. Biggerwood has cleared Scavvy there. Whether that was a mistake or a genuine overtake, difficult to say. Mr. O'Keefe in 9th has now pitted and come out of the pits on a new set of medium tyres. He's in P9 and has managed at least to stay ahead of John P and Liquid Gecko, and that will please him no end, I'm sure. Joe Gonsim has cleared Nintendo. Just try and catch that manoeuvre. I think that was into the hairpin. Here we go, side-by-side action. Little bit of boost there from Joe Gonsim as we head down into the hairpin and through. Nice pass. You do the work to stay with the driver in front. You suffer a bit of tyre deg, but then you use up your boost, which is a finite resource, of course, the boost, delivering more air into the engine mix, and is basically opening a carburetor. So there is only so much time that you can spend doing that. It does use more fuel though, so better to get it out of the way and use it on the early side. Peering through the fog, we can see Sir Grinch leading the race as they start lap 11. No pit stop from the front two, but the current front two, because Nigel Mansell has pitted from 2nd and Yank from 4th, and Thump declines the pit lane as well, favouring to stay out for an extra lap here on these soft tyres and try and get the overcut done, passing on the track rather than in the pit lane. We will see if that works out. Jailhouse Chris is right with him and has, remember, stayed on the medium tyres from the start of the race, running the option strategy today rather than what I think was the majority of the drivers starting on the softs. Jailhouse Chris may well feature towards the end of our race in the hunt for the podium here. Nigel Mansell now trying to wrestle some grip out of his medium tyres. They will feel very different to those well bedded in and slightly on the edge soft tyres he's just had his team remove for him. And the beautiful Brokaga livery. I think in terms of most improved liveries from last season, I would definitely put Brokaga right up there. Beautiful car with the gold accents and the black base and the Brokaga green, of course. A big thank you to our sponsors who have taken over the title sponsorships or continued them. Igala, formerly with us under a different name, and we have Brokaga, of course, Hector Motorsports right there, and newcomers to team sponsorship here, PSV Racing. Liquid Gecko's team, Team Gecko, taking over. But out in front at the moment, the Gecko Racing driver is Sir Grinch with his Grinch helmet. Mega Racing, of course, continuing with us. Mega Transport. Another great evolution of livery design here as well for the Mega Racing crew. Of course, they were able to sign the alien driver, Vader, didn't have things quite as much his own way as he's used to so far in the Nürburgring Grand Prix race. I won't spoil the result if you haven't seen it yet, but do check it out on the channel. Of course, we covered that one live. Here is Thump in P12, and Jailhouse Chris keeping Thump very much in his sights. Thump has still not pitted, and neither has Sir Grinch or Woe Grizzle. Be very interesting to see where Jailhouse Chris is on track relative to Grinch at Woe Grizzle post pit stops, because Jailhouse Chris has managed to be ahead of Nigel and Yank the Tank. Here they are, 5th and 6th positions. Biggerwood has not pitted yet either, running the old favoured rookie strategy from previous season of the mediums moving on to the softs. Certainly one of my favourite ways of going racing. As Woe Grizzle pits now at the end of lap 12. Quite wise. Sir Grinch is staying out once again. Amazing to see him staying out there longer than anybody. Thump is in as well. And here comes Jailhouse Chris. Has he been able to keep the leaders in sight? Well, I tell you who is in sight, in his mirrors at least. Nigel Mansnail on his new medium tyres here. He has pitted. The car in front, Jailhouse Chris, has not pitted yet. So that relative performance between the two will ride on board with Nigel here. It'll flick through the gears as we head into the Mercedes AMG Arena section of the track. Through the turn 5 and into Pagid Racing. It used to be the Ford Curver, and then down to the tyre manufacturer corner. Now Goodyear, was Dunlop. Long looping turn 7. The tyres complaining all the way through for Nigel. All clear behind Nigel as he heads into the Michael Schumacher S. Heads towards Xiaomi. Turn number 10, and into Bilstein, the right-hander. Very important to get on the power. He's using the overtake as well. Mansnail feeling possibly like he's going to be held up a bit here by Jailhouse Chris, so good idea to use the boost, get ahead. The driver's absolutely clattering over those curbs, and it was Jailhouse Chris who went completely over the bollard as they went through. Nice little signature on the halo there from Nigel. We have Sir Grinch, our leader, pitting. Let's check out behind. Grinch is not out of the pit lane, so Mansnail has managed to get past Grinch, who is in the pits. Grinch is a long time in the pit lane, looking at it. Let's go back to Grinch as he exits from the pits, and he'll be thinking, oh, that's probably Nigel behind me, but it's not, it's his teammate. So switching onto the mediums, that really has not worked for Grinch in his plan to stay at the front of the grid. But of course, time will tell. If he feels like those mediums weren't going to hang on right to the end of the race, he will be in a 2 or 3 lap deficit to Nigel Mansnail in terms of tyre age. He will have more grip available to him at the end of this stint. It's lap 14 now of the 30. Grinch down in P6, and his lap prior to the pit stop was a 42.1 for Nigel Mansnail. Before his pit stop, a 41.9. Very close in times, but just getting onto those new tyres early doors and putting in a new fastest lap by a 1/10 of a second, a 1:39.897. Nigel is absolutely in the commanding position right now. He's made his way by Jailhouse Chris, who wants the place back here. Nigel turns into the VDOL slightly early as the overtake attempt is made. Jailhouse Chris runs super wide once again, trying to avoid that pit wall on the inside line as we peer through the fog once again. Jailhouse Chris with his teammate now, Woe Grizzle, who is pitted onto those medium tyres, will be waiting. If the race will happily run, if the cars will happily run 14 laps, on their starting fuel on soft tyres. Jailhouse Chris will be thinking about a pit stop pretty soon here as they run through. Jailhouse Chris, though, I think might be even more planning a pit stop soon as the grip departing from him there. Oh, that's horrible, but he saved it nicely, didn't end up in the barrier. And Chris, unfortunately, miscalculating. The change in camber of the road through the hairpin is famous for unseating these very stiffly sprung Formula cars, of course. There really is just one ideal line through there, and you put half a wheel onto the marbles and you're in trouble. Yank the Tank in P4, net P3, bearing in mind Jailhouse Chris's delay there and that he'll be into the pit lane. And Jailhouse Chris is struggling massively, perhaps picking up a flat spot or overheating the tyre there slightly. I think we're getting to the point now where Chris will have to bail from this lap and strategy early. See what he thinks the soft tyres can do. We saw 14 laps on the longest run from the soft tyre, and like I say, that was on heavier amount of fuel than they will need to run at the end of the race. Up close to Yank the Tank's Igala Motorsports operation. Don't forget to check out Yank the Tank's output as well. He's been very considerate and made his highlights of his race scheduled to be output after our race highlights here on the channel, so as not to spoil any results. We are appreciative of that, Yank. Thank you. Make sure you're subscribing to all of our main streamers here. Yank, VR Hot Laps, PSV Racing, and if you like mine as well. I imagine most of our audience is subscribed to my channel. Several are actually supporters in financial terms, and they have joined Team Webbo. Very grateful to them. Oh, big slide moment there from Thump on his new tyres. Just trying to get some sort of grip going. Thump and Michelle Keith, 8th and 9th positions. Be hoping to pick up some positions further into the race with the pit stops. They're expecting pit stop from Scavvy, from Biggerwood, from Jailhouse Chris, at least in front of them. John P with Liquid Gecko here. Still hasn't pitted. Gecko has. Was one of the earliest drivers to pit off the soft tyres on the planned strategy anyway. We haven't seen a great deal of damage from our races. I think only 2 drivers have suffered any kind of damage. This is one of them, Joe Gonsim, unfortunately. Lap 1, turn 1. Typical problems into the hairpin here at Nürburgring. Joe. It's running wide through a tricky Goodyear turn 7. And Nintendo shadows him, of course. Nintendo in 13th. And Snacks. First time commentating for over a Snacks race. So welcome to the league there, Snacks. You've got a helmet design very similar to our race winner, Yank the Tank. I'm not quite sure if it is a direct replica or it's something. It might say Pokemon. I'm not sure on Snacks' helmet. Nigel Mann's now ahead of Woke Rizzle. Then at the head of our race currently, Sir Grinch. Kind of an unexplained situation for Sir Grinch right now. No obvious really poor laps from Grinch, but he did run a lot longer on the soft tyres that were worse for wear. And then was later switching on to those soft, but he's lost a good 10 seconds or so to Mansnell and to Work Grizzle out front. That will be a tough job to try and recatch, especially stuck behind a driver like Biggerwood, who has yet to pit and is on much older medium tyres. So Biggerwood is under no obligation to allow Sir Grinch by, but he's not really doing any kind of blocking manoeuvres for a teammate. So he may decide ultimately that his race is better run and his team's race are better run by not sitting and holding up Sir Grinch, who has used most of his boost now. You can see the red glow above his roll hoop in comparison to the green glow above Bigger Woods. That means he's down into the final 25% of his boost. And Sir Grinch opting to go fast at the start of the race with the boost and then try and bring it home, but I'm not sure the strategy is working out just yet. We'll see as we get into the final 5 laps of the race whether Sir Grinch has been able to clear Biggerwood and make his way by. We haven't seen the medium tyre runners come in yet, and I'm kind of surprised to see that. Nobody was keeping an eye on pit stops or keeping an ear using our Hector AI race engineer as to when the soft tyre runners have pitted, because while you can do a ton of preparation, finding the exact wind speed, direction, humidity, and ambient temperature combination that we have on any given day can be a challenge. And sometimes you can run 3 or 4 race distances and still not really know what the tyres are going to do on this particular race day and race conditions, and whether your driving matches your practice driving as well, of course. So we do need to pay attention to what the rest of the field are doing, and that's how the drivers in VR, of course, use the audio race engineer to communicate with Hector and ask him questions like when was the first soft runner in, when was the last soft runner in, things like that, for the pit stops, and Hector will invariably give them that information if all the drivers are connected to Hector, of course. It's not always the case. Nigel Mansell trying to stay away from Woe Grizzle here by using the boost. Woe Grizzle holding on to just under half of his boost. Woe Grizzle, wouldn't it be great to see Woe Grizzle return and be back on the on the podium or on the winner's step here for Team Mega. Woe Grizzle returning to us in a reserve position for the Gecko Racing team last time out at Barcelona, securing a P6 with climbing 1 position from his starting position. But this is a whole new kettle of fish. Classic driver Woe Grizzle from the Cabbage Corp team from seasons past. Nigel Mansell in P2. Unfortunately, Nigel losing out there. Let's just go back and get a second look at that one. It was a classic situation, was it? No, it was heading into turn 2, in fact. Dirty tyres, too much apex, and there could be the loss of our race lead and possibly our race win for Nigel Mansell, because now, of course, he has less boost to fight with the car in front. So, Mansell, a reminder, if a reminder was necessary, that focus is massively important over long distance racing like this. And just a minor little one wheel over the apex and the car stepping out, whether that was because it ground out on the high curbs here at Nürburgring, or it was symptomatic of a wide moment cooling or overheating one tyre on the run into the corner. Nigel Mansell then needing to redouble his efforts, give himself the equivalent of a slap around the face, wake it up and get into this one, because the win may be slipping away now. Again, if either of the 2 drivers at the front of our race do win today, it will be their first win of the season with us, and that will be a fantastic story. We have the most competitive running in our second tier divisions here in SVR. We have fairly dominant drivers in the top tier and the rookies. But this is why people tune in week after week to see who's next to take home a win. Here comes Jailhouse Chris finally into the pit lane at the end of lap 19. Sir Grinch will go by, and now Sir Grinch will need to light the touch paper and absolutely push, try and get himself back into podium, if not winning territory, and make use of the available grip in 5 laps time that his rivals in front of him will not have. Thump in P5. He started near the back of the grid, and Thump is now in P5 on merit as the rest of the pit stops filter through. Scavy has still not pitted. He'll be targeting the end of this lap, I would fully expect. Jalhaz Chris emerges in P7 on brand new sticky soft tyres as we start to see the sun drop below the horizon. If anyone in Germany can remember what the sun is on a day like today, but certainly light levels are dropping. Biggerwood in P9. I say that with no criticism of the German climate, because of course I can't possibly speak, being a British British-based commentator myself. We share in each other's humidity level misery. Michel Keefe in P8, Biggerwood in 9th on those new soft tyres as well. Michel Keefe, like his teammate Thump, moving forward huge amount of places already. Where Grizzle leads ahead of Nigel Mansell and Yank the Tank here on the end of lap 20. Liquid Gecko is in 10th. Jogon Sim trying to recover this race has still not he has pitted off his first soft tyres. Will his mediums go the distance comfortably enough? It's a big question, as Nintendo is in 12th. Similar situation to Joe. John P has damage on the car, unfortunately, John. And the 22 is just pitted as well. Let's just see if we can't see exactly what happened to John. Damage had already occurred at this point. It was shortly after his pit stop, in fact. There it is. Bang, into the barrier, then out of the final corner, unfortunately for John. Okay, so here we have Snacks at the back of the grid. Brand new soft tyres for Snacks, but the leaders are coming through. They may well be on his heels here before the end of the race. That's Woe Grizzle with the fastest first sector of anybody on those used mediums as the fuel drops off here. Woe Grizzle, a good 2 seconds now ahead of Nigel Mansell. The opportunity was here today for Nigel to get his best result and first win. What will happen later on? There's a big gap, probably 8 seconds or so back to third place Yank the Tank, defending the lead of the championship from Thump. This would be a good result, I think, for Yank, bearing in mind his main title rivals, Thump, Jogon Sim, Scavy and Jailhouse Chris, are all behind him, and that's the classic luck of a champion defender there to have a bad day. Well, not necessarily a bad day, but a distant day from a provisional win, and it working out that the drivers behind you are all having worse days. So Grinch, currently 9th in our championship, despite winning so far. No scoring in round 4 was the big issue for Sir Grinch. As P4 then, just hoping that tyre delta later on brings him into contention. Thump in P5. Bearing in mind a poor start will represent a good result if he can finish in that top 6. Here is Jailhouse Chris now on the soft tyres, with Michel Keefe fighting with Biggerwood. Biggerwood on the soft tyres, Keefe on the mediums. This is where the medium starter's patience is rewarded. Biggerwood, an unusual place. This was a trouble spot for S1, certainly. Into the approach to Paget Racing right-hander. It's that left-hander that seems to catch people out. Very, very slippery offline. Biggerwood then shaping back to the inside line into Goodyear. Brilliant overtake from Biggerwood. Up to 7th place now. He's slightly offline on the exit, but filters back onto the racing line through the Schumacher S over the crest and approaching the Xiaomi left before the Bilstein right, and Biggerwood with just handfuls more grip every metre on the race circuit on these new soft tyres, and he's got plenty of boost to spare as well. Biggerwood back to a fantastic position on the racetrack. Fingers crossed for a good result. We've got Liquid Gecko in P9, Scavvy in 10th, followed by Joe, Nintendo, Snacks, and now John, who had to pit to get off that damage at the back of the grid. Unfortunately, Hector Motorsports' day continues to worsen overall. Woe Grizzle leads, and he's now got a 3 or 4 second gap back to Nigel Mansnail. For the Brokaga driver in 7th in the championship. Best result of 2nd so far, the 81. Obviously, he could still equal that best result. Big points on offer here for Nigel. And he's still not that distant, only 10 points away from P2 in the championship, with Thump, who is that P2, behind him. He will climb several places, Nigel, even if he manages to finish in that 2nd position. Sir Grinch, a long way back, just coming through the what have we got? The Bilstein corner as Mansnail in 2nd is going through the Vidal. The length of the long flat out section at the back of the circuit there, between 2nd and 3rd places. Thump likewise, and now we have Yank with a difficult situation for Yank. He's got Jailhouse Chris on the soft tyres. Jailhouse getting a really good run going through Bilstein and into the Vidal. Jailhouse Chris ahead, then the 266 once again, and soft tyres will help him to move forward. That's big for the championship as well. Jailhouse Chris only 8 behind Yank the Tank in the championship lead. Things will continue to go ebb and flow between our drivers here at the top of the championship, because there's no dominant, clearly better driver than anybody else in the top 10. And as they trade wins throughout the season as well, the form just dependent on track specialty, I think, for the most part here in S2. Don't forget to support today's output. Hit something positive under the video today if you can, or if you're willing to support the league on a ongoing or one-off basis, navigate to svr-racing.com. On the bottom of the page you can see who else is actually supporting the operation, the believer, friend and supporter levels of the league, as well as, of course, our team title sponsorship opportunities. Any team that is still named after a colour is available, such as Team Cyan. Had a brief spell as Team Lucas did Cyan, but not long enough, just 1 week, and not long enough for everybody to have put the new livery on. There is Monsieur Keefe, unfortunately, just off the circuit for a second. This is into turn. There's the trouble spot I was talking about from the S1 stream. Just checking his mirrors as he rejoins the race, and that is damage on the car. 7 laps to go. I think it would be worth a change of tyre and change of strategy. Get the damage repaired. We'll have a look at how badly his speed is affected. If he doesn't go into the pits at the end of this lap, staying left, and he's staying out at this stage. If I just look at the likes of Scavvy, as Scavvy crosses the line, he's at 130. Yeah, it's not affecting Keefe too badly. Very similar speed then as they cross the start-finish line, so may not be too much of a problem. Back up through the grid momentarily, because Biggerwood continues in his ascendancy. He's now caught Yank the Tank. Good to see our original drivers from multiple years, both Biggerwood and Yank the Tank, still in the top section of the 2nd tier of the racing here. We've seen the level rise year after year as our teams help each other and work hard to maximise those results. Here is Biggerwood then. Great power coming out of the corner in comparison to Yank the Tank, using the boost as well. He's saved that boost for his soft tyre spell. He needs to watch the fuel. He's in the red on fuel, whereas the car in front is not. So be thinking about that quite a bit, I imagine. Plenty of sponsors on the car now, Biggerwood. He goes out of the final corner, and then it's a simple job of using the boost. Yank didn't put up too much of a fight there. He knew the pace at which Biggerwood had caught him and the amount of boost he had on the car in comparison. How freely he was able to use his boost anyway. And Yank the Tank down to 7th now. Not the best day for Yank, has to be said, but still has his main rivals behind him, with the exception of Thump. I think Yank has definitely had a rough lap somewhere in the order. There's a 2-minute lap there, which I think represents lap 22. Represents an issue. Let's just have a look. Let's go to here. That's what happened to Yank, and how he ended up with a 2-minute lap. Unfortunately, Yank, this is big for the championship. From P3 then, fighting with the Gecko racing car. This might just put him offline slightly there. Onto the marbles, trying to get the switchback working, and just clattering the barrier gently. No big deal, but that is the loss of essentially, what are we looking at? Some 18 seconds, because as we saw many times in the first 2 seasons of racing here at the Nürburgring, it's so low grip off circuit, and that is problematic then for Yank, unfortunately. So dropping down to P7 and a 2-minute lap, losing 18 seconds overall from his normal pace. Woe Grizzle leads. Nigel Mansnail. How far distant are the two drivers? Well, probably looking at 6 seconds or so. Back in 3rd position. Not much threat over the podium here. Grinch rounding the Goodyear corner on lap 25. This is the window for Grinch, where the drivers in front have significantly worse grip. 141.9 for Grinch, 141.4 for Mansnail. So it's not happening yet for him. Grinch with a 42.6 on lap 23. That was a much slower lap, so possibly a couple of wheels off the circuit, a big lift or something like that has cost Grinch recently, and fatigue playing its part now for multiple drivers as we head into the 43rd racing minute. Seems to be a difficult portion. Obviously, if anyone has used the VR helmets, it's very similar to wearing a race helmet. It's that warm, difficult to provide the cooling you need to the head with the structure of the VR system covering your head and eyes. You can start getting sweat trickling into your eyes, and that's difficult because obviously you really can't adjust anything. As Jailhouse Chris to the outside, Thump defending hard. I have personally had to battle Thump, as did my teammate last year, famously, around this circuit. Thump is a very tough customer to make the pass on. So here we go. Jailhouse Chris, soft tyres. Oh, a little touch there. It's danger territory there, as Chris then ends up thumping Thump, and off the circuit. We'll have another check on that one. As we go into the corner, you can see there's a little touch there. Thump knows where Chris is, and then Thump goes to brake quite heavily on his old medium tyres, suffers damage. In so doing, Chris may decide to blend out of the throttle here and let Thump back through, or maybe not. He could feel as if Thump in the heat of the moment, you can be tempted to think that the driver has brake tested you, but a lot worse in terms of tyre grip for Thump at that stage. But now he's going to be suffering with that rear damage, probably to the diffuser. Biggerwood could yet finish in P4 as Thump then the tail shaking on the car. Biggerwood clears Thump on lap 26. Thump moving backwards, and it's all change at the head of our championship. Thump and Yank the Tank are now back within range of each other, but unfortunately for them, the likes of Jailhouse Chris, Nigel Mansnail are having fantastic days out there. Biggerwood in P5 as well at this stage, and his best so far this season, 2 11th places. So Biggerwood will just be trying to drive with fingers and toes crossed for the final few laps here to see if he can bring this home with a consistent finish. I know it was stressing him a little bit, trying to deliver the performances and consistency that he is used to delivering, and it's been a tricky start to this season here for Biggerwood. Unfortunately, just 3 races, and he's missed the first and 5th rounds. So it's individual results that he's chasing here. Woe Grizzle, second race in S1 in 2026, could well be a magical race and a special memory for Woe Grizzle. It's lap 27 and he currently leads by getting on, I would say, for 6.5 seconds now. I'm not going to say 6 or 7 seconds because people will start spilling their drinks as they're watching. It's Sir Grinch in P3, Jailhouse Chris in 4th, followed by Biggerwood in 5th position. Chris on the soft tyres, as is Biggerwood. Both drivers be watching their fuel gauge as well. Yank the Tank in 6th has cleared Thump. Thump is clearly struggling with his rear damage there. It's top speed, is it? As Thump has no boost. Yank the Tank used a little bit, I think, on the way up into Xiaomi turn, and as they round Bilstein and through the Falcon kink on the approach to Vidal, it's Yank the Tank in front then of his main championship rival, at least going into the race, as Thump is all over the shop in terms of consistency through the Vidal, just fighting the rear of the car. Must be a horrible feeling for Thump. You don't want to pit now and lose positions, but you're struggling to get used to the new handling dynamics of your PSV Racing SF23. It's a tough situation to take as the drivers start their 28th lap of the 30. Scabby will be interested in what's happening up front. There's a yellow flag on the track, and it's Jailhouse Chris, unfortunately. Jailhouse Chris, who was so strong early in the race, has had a spin. Let's try and track exactly what happened for Chris here. I thought it was going to be turn 1. It's turn 2 with a tank slapper from Jailhouse Chris. Oh, that's really tough for him, for the Mega Racing permanent driver. Watching championship rivals pass, and we're ticking off all of our championship leaders having problems today at various points. It's just the nature of this circuit and today's conditions, I think, out there, and trying to make the one-stop work. It means putting the tyres into dangerous territory at some point in the race, either here right at the end or, of course, later on. So Sir Grinch now is back to a good position relative to his championship rivals. Sir Grinch looking for only podium number 2 of his 6 rounds so far this season. The leaders have started their 29th lap. The penultimate lap begins, where Grizzle, very calm at this stage, I'm sure, just keeping an eye on the tyres, the fuel and the boost, but no dramas for Woe Grizzle. A 141.6 Lap times dropping slightly for Grizzle in the lead of the race at this stage. Very consistent from Nigel Mansell in second. And a poor lap, well, poor 3 laps, I would say, for Sir Grinch, who may have had to turn the engine down. He was one of the first into the red on the fuel, if memory serves me correctly, and of course isn't able to use any boost either, having used it all up. So his time's relative, he's dropping back from that group. Biggerwood is in P4 now. Biggerwood in 4th. And I'm sure he would be delighted to bring this home. Just a lap and a half left to go for Biggerwood to bring this to his best result here in S2. What is Thump up to? Well, I think he's testing the car, but unfortunately it's not going to help your tyre wear to be essentially tyre warming at this stage, but trying to see what the car is going to do. I don't think he was breaking the toe there, but unfortunately it did end up resulting in him losing time, further time, to Jailhouse Chris. Jailhouse, our only 2-time winner so far this season. But Thump has had 3 separate podiums to Jailhouse Chris's only 2, which both came as wins. And wow, they are back together again. I think there was a slight push there from Chris on the back of Thump. Thump almost swiping in reaction to the loss of grip, almost swiping across Chris. We could have on our hands here a bit of a rivalry developing between Thump and Jailhouse Chris. We'll check out the post-race penalties, if any, once we finish up today. Should be doing this replay to the point where we have steward decisions. Gecko has a huge amount of damage on the front of the car, both front axles, both front suspension arrangements, and the front wing for Gecko in 9th. Mr. O'Keefe is in 10th. It was a good 2/3 of the race for both PSV racing cars. Now it's become something quite different. Jogon Sim will take an 11th place, possible 10th place as he starts his final lap, I think after that lap 1 issue. But here comes Woe Grizzle, our Canadian driver for Team Mega, to come through the Vidal chicane. And a fantastic middle part of the race from Woe Grizzle brings him to a position to win at the Nürburgring. A fabulous result for Woe Grizzle. And Nigel Mansell bringing home heavy points in P2 in the 81. Sir Grinch, who led the start of our race, comes through quite some time later, it has to be said, but did a lot of heavy lifting in his race pace early doors. Brings the car home for Gecko Racing out of the final corner. Sir Grinch will come home with a 3rd position in the end, with just fumes left in the car. Sir Grinch home in P3. And how about this one from Biggerwood? His best result in an SF23. So Biggerwood comes home for Team Cyan in P4. Congratulations to him. And Scavvy gets Yenk right at the end of the race. Did Yenk run out of fuel? I don't think so. He ran out of tyres. Yenk the tank at the home in 6th. Jailhouse Chris in 7th in what is not the best race for our championship contenders. Thump in 8th. And then we will see 3 drivers home in close succession. It's Liquid Gecko coming through in 9th place. Can he hold on? He looks slow through the Vidal. Into the final corner, taking a tight line on the entry. Trying to get that power down. It'll be a drag race to the finish. Keith has a huge amount of boost to spare, but he can't clear Gecko. It's a short run to the line. Gecko 9th, Mushoki 10th, Jogon Sim home in 11th, and well battled from Joe. Snacks in P12 here to come through. And he comes home not last in his first race here for Team Science, so congratulations to him. Nintendo in 13th, John P has already finished. My driver of the day will be Biggerwood. Well, Grizzle though, congratulations to our newest winner here in S2. I am going to try and just check out while we're live, excuse me, the race results. and we will bring this home to a finish. So this is still pending a race review. This is not the finalised findings, but now we have the current investigations, a three-way. They're second on the list, but you can see Jailhouse Chris and Thump, 3 separate incidents under investigation. So that is well worth bearing in mind. We'll try and check in on that at the later part of the season when we find out those results. But while at the time of recording, 5 separate incidents under investigation. None, though, will affect Woe Grizzle, Nigel Mansnail, and Sir Grinch. Congratulations to our podium, and a big thank you for watching and liking today. My name's Webbo. This has been the S2 Round 6 of the 2026 VR Sim Racing World Championship at SVR. Thank you for watching, and we will catch you on the next race day.